What yet? It's Paul from Wicked Acorn. You're all very active in the chat tonight. That's nice to see. How's everybody doing? What are we at this evening? I got to finish up the quiz from yesterday. We need to find out the answer to our last question. Excuse me. It's I don't have any snaps to show you tonight because we're going to go right into uh, where are we? It's the 30th of October. October. It's the 30th of October. uh, I'm just having my tea. I haven't had supper yet, and we'll get to that in a minute. That's one of the things we have to look at tonight. I found a map, well, a bunch of maps of England, linguistic divisions of England. Very interesting. Excuse me. Can I make that thing go away? No. This is a map of England divided linguistically. So here we have tea, dinner, supper, and no clear majority. So what do you guys call it? I call it supper. So that would be the evening meal they're talking about there. The terms tea, dinner, and supper are used differently across the UK, and their meanings often vary depending on region, social class, and context. Here's a breakdown. Tea, primary meaning in many parts of the UK, especially in northern England, Scotland, and working class households. Tea refers to the evening meal, typically served between 5 and 7 p.m. What's for tea tonight? What's for dinner? Secondary meaning in all regions, tea also refers to the drink itself, often accompanied by light refreshments, biscuits or cake. This is afternoon tea or high tea. Afternoon tea, light meal or snack, high tea, etc. Excuse me. Dinner is considered the main meal of the day, but when this is eaten varies. Lunch, midday, that's what I call the midday meal, I call dinner. Um, School serves dinner at school. Are you coming over for dinner? Special occasions, dinner is often used to describe formal meals, regardless of time. Supper, which is what I call it, is typically a light evening meal, often eaten later in the evening than tea or dinner. When I was at Scouts, they asked, yeah, Asterix is saying breakfast, dinner, tea, and supper. And I thought that was hilarious when all these different meals like breakfast and second breakfast and elevensies and all this stuff. It's like if we ate 3 times a day, we were lucky. uh, yeah, we didn't we didn't have any of those other meals. But when I was at Scouts, excuse me, uh, we were going to camp, and one of the leaders put me in charge of a bunch of kids to make up menus for the meals. And he said breakfast, tea, dinner, and supper, or something like that. I can't remember what he said. And I was like, what is that? Like, what are the names of the meals? Because I knew you had different names for them. And he had no idea what I was talking about. And that's a lot of the way we are. We don't realize that other people call things different things. I mean, obviously, in another language, people have different words for things. Like Joey on Friends said, "What do you call a croissant?" A croissant. He was saying to a French person. Wow, he said, French people got a name for everything. Or I could speak French. Or anyway, there's no doubt that people in other languages have different words for things, but in English there are variations all over the world, and even in this country, variations. North versus south, tea is the most common term for the evening meal. And it says supper often refers to a late night snack, which was new to me. So let's have a look. So where are we? So we're in this area, or at least most of us are. Darren, where are you? You're out in here somewhere, aren't you? You have no clear majority over there. But in this part of the world, in the greater Manchester part of the world, which I think is around here, my geography is not great on England. It is tea, the evening meal. Yuppies are respond. Yes, brunch is another one. That's so then we got TIG versus TAG. British and Irish dialect maps names for the playground game. Tag, tick, tip, tig, tiggy, tuggy, it, hit, had, catch, chase, touch, dobby. What was the one you guys were saying? Ticky it? Ticky it is not here. So you guys are making it up. Tick is one and it is one. So ticky it is another variation. Here, again, Greater Manchester is probably, most people call it Tig. Dobby, isn't that like a cartoon character or something? Tag, I grew up calling it tag. We had a game. How about koopy? Do you guys use the word koopy? Koopy would be to like squat down. Like I can't demonstrate because I'll just go off camera. But when you scrunch right down and still on your feet, but we call that koopy. You koopy down. Koopy? Maybe it's a French in origin. I don't know. I don't know the origin of the word koopy, but we played a version of tag called koopy tag. And you would koopy down. When you got tagged, I think, I can't remember how it was played. I think he had the it person. What did you call the it person? The person who did the chasing. That was it for us. And one version of tag was koopy tag. And when you got tagged by the person who was it, you had to koopy down. And somebody could free you by jumping over you, like leapfrogging over you. And then you were free to go again. And it was the end of the game when the last person was caught and koopied down. Everyone else was koopied down. Ticky hit. We drop our H's. Yeah, we do that too. There's a famous joke. Guy on the train says, which stop is Havendale? Which of course is Avondale, not Havendale. And the conductor said to him, he said, it's not Havendale, it's Avondale. He said, oh, that's all right, I'll pick it up in Holyrood. So dropping them and putting them back on is a thing that some people in Newfoundland do. So we got all kinds of variations. Tig seems to be the most common. And here's the one that brought this all about, the lump of bread. Excuse me. The lump of bread. What do you call a lump of bread? We got bread cake, tea cake, muffin, batch, barm, roll, cob, bun, bap. And there's a lot of variation in our part of the world. Where are we? We're in this pinkish purple bit, aren't we? Which is tea cake or muffin. Where are we? We're right here, aren't we? Like on the border of this yellow and pinkish purple color. So there's all different kinds. Chat censors some messages. Does it really? Why? What are you saying, Astrax? Ticky hit? Maybe? Were you saying something else? Uh, I wouldn't know. It's not shown here. I don't see anything, and I don't have anything turned on to censor it. So if it's censoring it, it's not something I'm responsible for because I left it all unchecked so that you could say whatever you want. But yes, there probably is some built-in thing that censors certain words. So it looks like this part of the world is, I think we're probably more in this pinkish purple bit, aren't we? Tea cake. That, I would probably call that a bun. But my mom used to put 1 and 6 in an envelope to pay for school dinners for a week. So that would be the middle of the day meal, is it? Roll down here. Yeah, I might call it a roll. Yeah, you could call it, yeah. Depending on the size of it. Like a roll would, like a hamburger bun. I think everybody knows what a hamburger bun is. Would be a bun, but a smaller version of a hamburger bun, I think I would call a roll. Yeah, I would definitely call it a roll. So there's a bunch of variations. Oh, and here's the most divisive. Scone versus scone, or is it scone versus scone? And again, it looks like we are in, where are we? What's blue? Blue is like alone, so scone, and red is like gone, scone. So we're in a very contentious area. Like, where are we? We're like here, aren't we? It's difficult for me to figure out where we are. Somewhere here in the on the border of everything. So it's very contentious here. But scone, says Asterix. We don't say either. We have scones, but we don't call them either. That thing is called a tea bun. We don't call it scone or scone. That's a tea bun. Now we got put versus pot. Now I've heard people say pot. I don't say pot, I say put. But there are people in Newfoundland that say pot. Pot it in the shed. It's a skull until it's gone. Um, and we are in the what is this color coding here? Pot? Are we in the pot? Excuse me. Looks like we're in the pot. Put pot. I don't understand this. The foot struck. It's not color coded well here, is it? Anyway, we're in this area, whatever that means. What does that mean? What do you guys say? Gutter as in butter? Guttural U as in butter? Butter. Do you say butter or butter? I say butter. No T's. D's. Was that it? Was that the end of our maps? That didn't seem like 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, and 6 is all of them. We got tea, dinner, supper, the Tig Tag one, the bun one, the scone, and this is kind of a most spoken language. This map here is English, and up here where we are is Old English mixed with Scots and Viking. Interesting. But rhymes with put in the blue area mostly. And again, we're in a funny area for scone. It's a very contentious area around here. Brown is muffin. Looks like we're in the muffin area here. Again, my geography is not perfect. I can't pinpoint exactly where we are. No, we're more here, aren't we? No, here in the brownish area, aren't we? And more Tig and more tea. So there we go. That is that. What else do we have? We had the quiz left over from last week, so I'll zoom through the quiz quickly. That was 1886, Statue of Liberty, which surprised me. And Sir Walter Raleigh was beheaded. If you're new here, we were doing this quiz last night and the thing froze up. War of the Worlds was Orson Welles. It froze up, we didn't get the answer. And Bosphorus Bridge was Asia and Europe. SOS doesn't mean anything. The first animal was a dog. And the most popular paper was the Times of India. And I don't remember which one this is. Where did the famous boxing match, Rumble in the Jungle? It was one of these. It was Zaire. And the name of the bomb was Ivy Mike, wasn't it? Yes. And this is the one we got frozen on. What religious movement was begun in 1517 when Martin Luther sent his 95 Theses to the Archbishop of Mainz? Mainz or Mainz? And I think it was the Protestant Reformation. And somebody in the chat said they looked it up as well. Protestant Reformation. Oh, that was the last question. I thought there was 2 left. Anyway, it was the Protestant Reformation. There we go. What's that? I don't know where that came from. Okay. I've been working on the Halloween video all day, so we're going to carry on with our Halloween theme. This is the Ghost of Mary Webb. Now, if you got any comments to throw in here, please do. I want to remake this video, and I want to get some reenactors and some actors to play the parts and do this as a nice proper docudrama kind of thing. Gonna have to I don't know, kind of make up the story, because there are several versions of the story of the Ghost of Mary Webb. So we'll have to put them together into one story or something. Anyway, I'm going to play the video and have a sip of tea, and you can let me know what you're thinking.
Oliver Cromwell. His statue stands defiantly outside Wythenshawe Hall. In the winter of 1643, his parliamentary forces laid siege to this former manor house. This 16th century timber-framed house in Wythenshawe is about 5 miles south of Manchester city centre in Wythenshawe Park. Built for Robert Tatton, it was home to the Tatton family for almost 400 years. Some of its historic residents have never left here. Many have been seen roaming the grounds and rooms of this splendid manor house. Monks, visible only from the knees up, wander through the grounds. At the back of the hall in the walled garden is the pet cemetery, where Patch, the Tatton family dog, is buried and supposedly rises from his grave at times. But its most famous occupant is the ghost of Mary Webb.
I don't know when the sword was replaced, but I have a photo of it missing in the video about the Cromwell statue. There's a photo of it not there, photo of it missing. Back when he was very green, very much patina on the statue.
Mary Webb was a young woman brought up by the Tattons. Mary remained here as a maidservant for the rest of her short life. Robert Tatton was the master of this fine estate. Robert's father, William Tatton, drowned trying to cross the River Mersey in 1617. Robert was only 10 years old. Being the only...
So that painting is actually completely wrong, but it demonstrates the point well, even though it's completely wrong. I think the name of this painting is Where Is Your Father? And the kid in the photo is, I don't think he's anyone in particular, but he's the child of a parliamentarian, and the inquisitor there would be a royalist. So the roles are kind of reversed to what I wanted to demonstrate, but it still demonstrates the, what I'm talking about.
1617. Robert was only 10 years old. Being the only male heir, Robert inherited his father's estate in Wythenshawe, but as a minor he was made a ward of the king, Charles I, until he came of age. Robert remained loyal to the king, and in the winter of 1643, his loyalty was put to the test. From 1642
So can you imagine? I mean, that's from where I am. Wythenshawe is a stone's throw. It's literally a stone's throw away from where I am here now. Wythenshawe Hall is very nearby here. And you just can't imagine these things. It's like, what's going on in Ukraine now. That's what was going on right here back then. And the world has always been coming to an end. Always. It's always in turmoil. We think we live in such horrible times, but we got it pretty good, don't we? It's I can't imagine Englishmen at each other's throats more than they are now.
Was put to the test. From 1642 to 1651, England was engaged in a civil war between the parliamentarian Roundheads and the Royalist Cavaliers, a fight that pitted brother against brother and father against son. Lancashire was divided. Both sides frantically sought to lay their hands on arms and gunpowder. The Royalists seized the magazines at Lancaster, Preston, and Liverpool, but Manchester declared for Parliament and refused to hand over its 10 barrels to the Royalist forces. As the troubles increased, Robert Tatton started repairing the moat and reinforcing the Grand House.
So another reason I really want to redo this video, I'll just let it move ahead a little bit here.
As the troubles increased, Robert Tatton started repairing the moat.
So this photo is the people at Wythenshawe wanted to use this video, and I was like, absolutely, yes, at Wythenshawe Hall. And I was, what's the word you guys use? Chuffed. I was really chuffed that they wanted to use it. But this is the wrong guy. But I got this photo from their webpage, so they got it wrong, and subsequently so did I, because they did. This is apparently the grandfather Robert Tatton, not the Robert Tatton of in this story. So this would be his grandfather. Oh no. Trying to cross the Mersey there? Did he like fall in or something? That's horrible.
Reinforcing the Grand House. Robert recruited a small defense force of around 50 from his tenants and friends, and they prepared for war. The commander of the local parliamentarian forces in Cheshire, Colonel Robert Duckenfield, was ordered to seize Wythenshawe Hall and to remove anything of value that could be found.
So Robert Duckenfield was somewhere we looked at, someone we talked about recently on the live stream, Duckenfield, the place. It was the video about Winifred Brown, the woman from Sale, who was the first one to win the King's Cup, the flight around Britain. And he owned, what's the name of it? I can't think of the name of it. The park. Oh, damn, I can't remember the name of it. In Stalybridge. Anyway, it's the place where I'm so bad with names. the the Bunny Rabbit book writer. What's her name? Oh damn, I can't remember. Anyway, her grandparents lived in this park, so they must have been relations to this Duckenfield guy. Um, oh, why can't I think of her name? Anyway, someone will remember it. The one that wrote the story, Peter Rabbit. What's her name? Oh, someone will put it in the chat.
Shaw Hall and to remove anything of value that could be found. After ransacking the nearby village of Northenden, the Roundheads marched on and arrived at Wythenshawe Hall on the 21st of November, 1643. But taking the house was not going to be as easy as they had imagined. Captain Adams, second in command, led the small force of several dozen parliamentarians and laid siege upon the house. A ferocious battle ensued, with the defenders firing from windows and what cover they could find. The inexperienced force drove back the astonished parliamentarians, killing 2 as they retreated. When the smoke cleared, 6 of the defenders lay dead. One was the fiancé of Mary Webb. Robert Tatton called for a truce so the bodies could be taken to the church for proper services. Adams refused, and the defenders of Wythenshawe Hall were forced to bury them in the garden behind the house. Mary was heartbroken and vowed revenge. The siege turned into a standoff, and the Roundheads determined to wait until the Tattons ran out of food and water. 3 months of cold winter dragged on. Whether through determination or fate, on the 25th of February, Mary saw her chance to avenge her fiancé's death. While looking through an upstairs window, she saw Captain Adams sitting on a wall near the house. Inflamed with grief and anger, Mary slipped a musket under her cloak and went outside. Taking careful aim, she sent Adams to meet his maker.
So that's a great little bit of footage I got there of the gun going off. But again, it's the wrong kind of gun, don't you know? They would not have had flintlocks at this point in history. So all these little things that you just say, oh, that's good enough. It's the best I can do. I couldn't get a matchlock to put in the video, so a flintlock will have to do. It was an earlier version of the flintlock, the matchlock. That's the one that had the cord with the little ember burning slowly on the end of a cord. Yes, it was Beatrix Potter. Thank you, Asterix.
This may have been the last straw for the parliamentarians. 2 days later, on the 27th of February, 1644, the parliamentarians brought 2 cannons from Manchester, with which they reduced the hall. One cannonball entered by the drawing room window and smashed the wood carving on the opposite wall. By then, the defenders had exhausted their ammunition and had very little food left. By then, the defenders had exhausted their.
So this photo, sorry, it's hard to jog around on the microphone on the YouTube here. That's a photo from the fire at Wythenshawe Hall. And one of the things about the ghost of Mary Webb that I say at the end of this is the ghost of Mary Webb guards the hall, and she didn't do a very good job, did she, guarding the hall, because it was almost completely lost in that fire, and that's fire damage in that photo you see there from the fire a few years ago.
and had very little food left. Mary escaped over the marshland and ditches, but according to local legend, was drowned in a ditch. From that day to this, she is reportedly seen walking the park at night. It's said she protects the hall. In certain rooms, it can feel icy cold. It can sometimes feel like someone standing behind you and will tap you on the shoulder. The chandelier which hangs in the hall has been seen moving. It isn't possible for anyone to touch it, and wind can't enter the room. It's suggested that it's Mary that swings the chandelier. She has since been known to appear just outside her former quarters, sobbing in a long white gown. A number of odd photos have been taken in the library, showing unexplained figures, orbs, and mists. It's said that Mary can be heard sobbing and walking frantically from room to room, trying to flee the soldiers and her oncoming fate.
So it's an interesting story. It's quite a good story. The story of the siege of Wythenshawe Hall. The ghost story is just a vehicle to tell a little history of the hall, and that was fun to work on. And of course, Wythenshawe Hall is another, excuse me, another place that took me forever to get into because it nearly burned down, as we were just saying. It nearly burned to the ground, and that was moments before we got here, the fire. And so it took me forever to get into Wythenshawe Hall. So now it's open again, of course, and be nice to get in there and do a reenactment of this story. And so if you know anybody that would like to get involved, Darren, was it you that wanted to play Mary Webb? Very little accounts of the hall being haunted. However, I was in the bedroom with the cot once and it started rocking. I put it down to loose floorboards. Quite possibly. I've never encountered any such thing. No, that's not true. That's not true. I'll tell you a ghost story that happened to myself and my wife and my cousin. My cousin went to school with my wife before I knew her. Yes. So my cousin and my wife went to school together. They lived in a completely different town than I did growing up. So I didn't know her growing up, but my cousin did. Yes, indeed, Darren. Sounds good. Anyway, my wife, their family had like a cabin, a country home, they called it, a little house out around the bay in a place called Brigus. And it was it's one of the really old, pretty towns in Newfoundland. It has stone walls and a lot of old Englishness to it. And it would have been one of the first places that were inhabited, like back in the 1600s, one of the first places that were settled. Anyway, so my cousin had gone out to this country home with my wife on before I even knew her. And like you would, sitting around having a few beers, whatever, he started telling a ghost story. And he just made up a ghost story about the house and the area. about these guys that came over in the 1600s, and they all starved to death and had to resort to cannibalism and all this. So he just made this story up. So jump ahead a decade, maybe, and now I'm dating my wife, and we're out at the country home, and same thing. I start telling a ghost story, just making up a ghost story about these guys that came over, and they were in this area, and they were trapped there for the winter, and they started running out of food, and they started resorting to cannibalism. And my wife says, "Stop it! Rick told you that." So she was accusing me of that my cousin had told me the ghost story to freak her out, but he hadn't. It was just I told the same story that he had told, more or less, about these guys that came over from England, were there for the winter, didn't have enough food, starving to death, and resorted to cannibalism. Just a made up ghost story. And we both made up the same story, apparently. And with that, uh, with that, you remember those roll up blinds, those ones that you pull down and you do a little jig on them and they'd go up, those roll up blinds? That's the kind of thing, window coverings in the kitchen where we were. And all the roll up blinds in the kitchen went. If you've ever encountered those roll up blinds, frighten the shit out of us. And of course, we had candles stuck in beer bottles and stuff. Uh, and the candles were burned down to little nubs, and the candles popped out of the bottles. This is a true story. And it was really, really weird because we actually weren't scared. It was just something that happened. The blinds went up and the candles popped out of the bottles, and it didn't freak us out. I got ahead of the story there because it didn't freak us out. It was just, oh, I guess they want us to stop talking about this. And we stopped talking about it, and that was the end of it. Weird story, really weird story. That's the only weird um, story I have of the supernatural, if that is a supernatural story. I'm sure it can all be scientifically explained away, but it was a weird story, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, that was my only encounter with the supernatural. So, somebody's home, and it's time to go make supper. So I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Halloween. Got the new Halloween video. I just finished it and uploaded it today. I was going to play it today, but I figured, no, I'll put that one on tomorrow. A tulpa? What's a tulpa? You'll have to put that in the chat and tell me what a tulpa is. All right. See you in the next one.